Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. And we're here today with special guest, Gina Breedlove, who's here to share with us her new book, The Vibration of Grace, Sound Healing Rituals for Liberation. Is it time to take a sacred healing journey to awaken the boundless power of your words, thoughts, and voice? Well, today's show is just for you. Gina Breedlove is a vocalist, composer, actor, and traditional sound healer from Brooklyn, New York. She created the program Vibration of Grace, healing through sound, helping thousands of people worldwide rediscover and deepen their power. Gina's performance credits include the Lion King stage musical, and she also tours performing her own work. As a recording artist, Gina has created 3 original albums, Open Heart, Language of Light, and The Star. So let's welcome to the show, Gina Breedlove.
Thank you so much, Marianne.
What an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. What inspired you to write this?
You know, I have been a practitioner, a sound healing practitioner for about 25 years. And the work was just becoming there were so many opportunities to offer my work, and there's only one of me. And so I woke one morning with Spirit's voice in my body saying, you know, if you write a book, you can reach more folk and be of service. Because I was beginning to turn folk away. My calendar was so full. So that's why.
Well, I'm so glad that you wrote this book. I found it to be so profound.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, of course, And so for people who are new, when you talk about sound healing, what is that?
Well, it is an ancient modality. I feel and know, and from the research that I've done, sound has been used to heal all manner of ailments since time. Sound healing is the drum, is the didgeridoo, is our flutes, the sound of the voice, Gregorian chants, bells. Oh, the sound of the river, the sound of birds. But with intention, using sound with intention to shift the energy, the weight of grief for folk who are moving through illnesses. It can provide release and relief of the spirit and to calm the body. Definitely used to relieve anxiety, what they call monkey mind, when you circle a narrative, a repetitive narrative, and you can't seem to create any space in your thoughts to find yourself or the power of your own voice. Sound healing, gosh, it encompasses so many things, Marianne. And some folk use singing bowls, which I find so profoundly beautiful. My work is anchored in using the voice, the power of the human voice, and guiding folk to use the sound of their voice.
So for people who are not used to doing that, how do they find, I know in your book you talk about finding your soul tone. So how do they find that?
Well, there are many points of entry here. In my book, though, I guide folk to working with notes, working with the C major scale or the pentatonic scale, working with solfeggio frequencies. But we can focus on working with the C major scale. Solfege, which is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, which many folk are familiar with because of the beloved movie, The Sound of Music. When I was 6 years old, that was the first movie I ever saw. And so I bring I bring solfege into a practice, a ritual of finding a note that you resonate with, really. And so taking the C major scale, we give an example of that in the audio offering of our book, but folk can find it really easily. They do a little research, and it would be leaning into each note and sounding it every day and finding the note that brings an immediate sense of calm to your body, to your spirit, to your being, and then incorporating that note in your meditations, in your daily practice, in the day to day of doing, so-called menial things like shopping or driving, but humming this note to yourself, and sometimes, marrying it with a word, a high vibrational word like joy or grace or peace, toned again and again with this note. And the idea of a soul tone is this note is connected to you in some way. This note that you find calming and soothing and can become part of your daily routine for well-beingness.
In your book, you share about grace. And for our listeners that may not really be familiar with it, or maybe grace seems a little bit elusive, what would grace be?
Well, for me, grace is a being, a spirit, a presence that I have been journeying with since I was 5 years old. A steady, calm, constant voice that has helped me navigate a world of trauma, abandonment, and abuse. And grace, the voice of grace, urging me forward to sing and to tone and create safe space in my body when there was no safe space around me. So it was an inside, inner knowing. And I would use the sound of my voice. And so that no matter what was happening on the outside and happening in my world, I felt a sense of inner protection. Um, a sense of peace throughout my life. And it is from this peace that I have been able to develop this practice and guide other people. Grace is a knowing, a divine knowing of love, of possibility, of community, of belonging. Grace has been um, my saving grace.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I find it to be so beautiful that you had that deep connection at such a young age. I think a lot of times when people hear the word grace, it feels like something that's kind of a disconnect outside of themselves that they're trying to obtain.
Yes, grace has taught me often that, it's not a new knowing. I know that you know this, Marianne, that all that we need, all that we are seeking, we also carry. We carry everything. And I feel like so much of the time in my work, I'm guiding people back to themselves, to the reveal of their power, of their capacity, of their divinity. They're not new knowings. So many of these teachings have been around forever. This teaching that of the God in you, and that God is love, and that the I is you, but the M is community, is us all, is coexistence. And so grace is inside of every being, not just some of us, but all of us. And so these rituals in the book, these practices, help folk to find the grace in themselves.
In your book, you talk about using sound to release grief. How
Mhm.
does someone go about doing that? Because I think that that was such a profound chapter.
Thank you. Well, if you are graced to make sound, if you are able to, this book is absolutely anchored in and working with people who have access to their voices, and you can. There are so many practices that you can do to focus the sound of your own voice into your body, where grief is generally hiding, like in the center of your chest or at the base of your throat. Where I've come to understand the weight of words or the weight of the unsaid is generally stuck in the throat area. Um, so there's humming, there's toning. We work with toning syllables. We work with toning notes. We work with toning the sound of your own name. But humming is my favorite practice for finding grief, for leaning into grief, and for allowing a pathway of grief out of the body. My grandmother used to hum, and there was a different hum for every feeling that she was moving through. Like you knew when you were not supposed to, go into the kitchen when she was humming and cooking, and you knew when she was moving through some sorrow. And humming and focusing on what it is that you are carrying or what it is that is causing grief in your body, then leaning into it with the sound of your voice, with your hum, creates an opportunity often for you to begin to cry. I encourage wailing. I talk about rituals around wailing in the book. Crying with sound, crying with energy, crying with abandon. Really finding your way into sourcing, into tapping where that well of grief may be, and allowing it, grief-letting rituals, allowing it to exit your body. And, in the book also, we guide folk to creating the opportunity, creating the conditions, right? So making sure that you have prepared a meal and that you have tea or water and that you are connecting with people that you love and asking them to check in on you and letting them know that you're about to do this practice. It is my intention to normalize grief, releasing grief in our communities. And humming and sounding is one way to do that. And also, if you don't feel like you have access to your voice, there's that favorite song that you put on repeat that every time it gets to the chorus, you find yourself moved to tears and you begin to move what you've been holding. Yeah, sound. Sound is a beautiful medicine.
My goodness, it sure is. And in knowing your book, you talk also about the power of our words. And
Yes.
I'd love for you to share about that with our listeners.
Oh, my father taught me and his mother taught him that words are things. Words have weight. There's a meaning. There is the activation of your sound wrapped around the word, the power of your intention, the words that we choose. I have a teacher. His name is Joseph Royale, and he wrote this beautiful book called Sound and Being. And my teacher says that if we could see how words land on the body, how a word of love, lands on the skin, and how it creates like all of this beautiful light and like virtually like flowers, like things budding and blooming. If I tell you that I love you, if I tell you that you're wonderful, if I praise or lift or support you in some way, and if we could see it, if we could see the alchemy of it on the skin, that we would choose our words so carefully in moments of anger. Because of course, the opposite is also true. A harsh word can tear at our being. A harsh word enters the porousness. I mean, we have thousands of pores that cover the skin. And of course, in science, there are exit points for sweat and oil and entry points for water and oxygen, but also for sound, for vibration, for intentionality. And the words that we say and hurl at each other create much harm. I have a daughter, I have grandchildren as well, but I used to see evidence of this in my daughter. Like if I was not careful with my disciplining, I could see the effect immediately on her beingness, on her very stature, on how she would hold her body. It taught me the alchemy of true apology. And it taught me to be more careful with her and with others and with myself, narratives, the weight of a narrative. Am I nourishing myself with thoughts of possibility, of love, of loving myself forward? Or am I tearing myself down with you never and you always, and words that harm and that hamper and impede my progress, my pace, whatever it is I'm reaching for in the world at any given moment? So sound and word, we talk about how to practice choosing the word and understanding that every time you speak, you are opening something. I love the word portals. It's one of my favorite words. Every time I speak, I know I am creating something in the world and in myself.
What a beautiful perspective, and what a different world this would be if people looked at how their words actually create. Oh, thank you for explaining that. On that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Gina Breedlove in regards to her new book, The Vibration of Grace. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
Are you an actor, public speaker, or an executive telling your story over Zoom? Jean-Louis Rodrigue and Scott Weintraub's new book, Back to the Body, takes the process they use to coach top Hollywood talent like Margot Robbie, Jack Black, and Ke Huy Quan and makes it available to everyone. Using your body and its energy as a point of departure, your work will gain an enhanced level of performance and depth. Back to the Body, available on Amazon and wherever books are sold.
Every day, pets are surrendered and abandoned. For these helpless and hurting animals, Paws Humane Society acts as a voice for the voiceless, providing hope for a brighter future. You can make a difference in the life of a shelter pet. Become a humane hero today. Just $10 a month will provide much-needed food, shelter, medical care, and love. It takes a community. It takes heroes like you. Together we can. Together we will. Together, we are Paws Humane. Visit pawshumane.org to be a hero in every animal story.
What if everything we think we know about addiction, depression, anxiety, and trauma is missing the one key element that will actually let you walk away from them for good? My name's Bob Gardner, founder of The Freedom Specialist and creator of a body-based approach that eliminates suffering and creates happiness, health, and well-being on autopilot. You can read all about it in my book, Built for Freedom, or start your own adventure toward lasting freedom at thefreedomspecialist.com.
If you want to stop divorce fast, you do not need to waste years in therapy, you do not need to work on yourself, and you do not even have to have your spouse on board. If your spouse wants out, if they're filing for divorce, separation, or having an affair, what you need is a proven process to turn your marriage around. Book a free breakthrough session with us at highthrivecoaching.com/apply.
Dr. Richard London, who has 25 years of experience being known as the Man of Steel with the Heart of Velvet, presents the Life Wellness System, The Road to Yes, a mentoring system that brings you to becoming a wellness heir. Imagine having wealth, wellness, love, peace, and spirituality in abundance and balance now. Visit doctorateoflife.com or call 720-213-8021 for a free 15-minute wellness evaluation.
The first thing you need to know about me is that I love my kids, but they are not my everything. They used to be, but that's when my entire life fell apart. In order to pick back up the pieces, I had to put the love I have for myself before everything else, including my kids. I'm Jessica Dennehy, and I own multiple businesses. I'm a best-selling author, and I have all the strategies that I've used to make my life what it is today. And I'm going to teach you how to do them in my new book, Selfish is a Superpower. So go get your copy today on Barnes & Noble or jessicadennehy.com.
Announcing a revolutionary tool for wellness. Scalar Light has the ability to enhance and harmonize your own bioenergies. With Scalar Light, you can get started in just minutes and begin feeling better the very next day. Scalar Light is a remote energy that gently and subtly works with your own body's bioenergies, increases pro-cellular wellness, and enhances your body's immunity.
Experience the benefits of Scalar Light. Try a complimentary 15-day experience at scalarlight.com.
In your hands lie ancestral patterns. These patterns shape how you think, what you struggle with, and experiences you love, your life pattern. We're going into the latest neuroscience of biological hand analysis, a realm beyond palmistry where science and the soul entwine. Hand analysis is the latest method to transform lifelong patterns. I am Master Hand Analyst Brent Bruning. Join us and visit thepowerinyourhands.com.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest, Gina Breedlove, in regards to her new book, The Vibration of Grace, Sound Healing Rituals for Liberation. Before we left for break, we were talking about the power that our thoughts, our voice, and our words carry. What a different world it would be if people really took that to heart.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
In your book, you talk about the power of apology. Mm-hmm. I'd love for you to share that with our listeners because I found that to be just a really empowering piece as well.
Well, thank you for that. I've come to understand that that what impedes apology often is shame, and our fear of not being accepted or received. Our fear of being seen as less than or incapable, our shame that we made a mistake and harmed someone that we love. And of course that's braided in with grief, but so we offer these rituals around practicing apology, how to say, I'm sorry, how to practice accountability, and honor when something has harmed someone, and also when someone has done or said something that has harmed us. And so, I talk about how my journey, I was graced to go to Rwanda in 2018, and work with folk there who are doing reconciliation practices, truth and reconciliation rituals, practices, convenings between those that they call the perpetrators and those that they call the victims. That's the language that Rwandans use for the Rwandan genocide that happened there, the horror that happened there. And I saw incredible healing happening there. And I mean, it was amazing. And it was through the ritual and practice of honoring what had happened, apologizing for what had happened, perpetrators apologizing to victims, and then making amends however it was needed. Often, part of what happened was that, there was a lot of circle healing work where folk got to speak their stories and speak their heart. But it was the alchemy of true apology, of knowing that folk felt sorry for what had happened and seeking to make amends, that I think was the most powerful medicine that I saw there. And after witnessing that, I wanted to bring that back to do work here in the United States, which is my country. And so in our book, we talk about that. Like, how do you do it? How do you move to a space where you can access your language, the power of your words, to go to someone and say, I'm sorry that this happened. And then to figure out between you, what are the steps that can repair? What are the steps around repair? And then you gain parts of yourself back, you gain space within yourself, because the part of you that is left navigating the thing that happened is taking up a lot of residence in your body. It owns a lot of real estate in your being. It's the thing that you keep coming back to, or you can't forget, or that when you move it, creates all of this opportunity for things that you wish to be engaged in. And so, It's a gorgeous ritual that I've done in my own life with my beloveds, and that I know the power of.
So how does this practice impact the body?
I the weight of grief, the weight of the unsaid, the weight of the apology not uttered, not offered, not received, not given, is energy, and it lodges itself in the porousness of our organs, in our blood. Um, you know, um, this is all through my spirit knowing and through doing these rituals for the last 30 years, and of seeing how when folk find their way and into the ownership of their organs, of their blood, of their skin, of their mind, of their thoughts, of their words, the freedom that happens, the healing that happens, the well-beingness that happens afterwards. The effect is damage. The effect is I will ever use this language of how things become hard and brittle and ossify in the body, and how what can happen once we get inside of the liver, once we sound into the liver, and the release that can happen in the heart and around the heart, the fluid that circles the heart, the pericardium fluid that circles the heart, the access to the heart, the four glorious chambers of the heart, the rooms. I know all of this is very spirit anchored and spirit driven, and this language may feel profoundly esoteric. And it is so. I've seen it again and again. And I encourage and urge folk who might find it, like a far reach, to try to turn toward it and see. It is all connected to our personal power. We absolutely can be in rituals around healing ourselves. And the impact on the body is harm. And the impact on the body of the ritual is release, is reclamation, is the promise of well-being. And it's practice, it's daily practice. But there are some immediate wins. And I will share that I've been in practice for 30 years. And I'm always humbled by how, I have to stay in practice,
Well, it's something we do daily with our voice and speaking. So being able to be so aware of what it is that we're putting out in the world, I mean, how empowering is that?
Oh, it is deeply. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I am your amen corner. I'm back.
Well, I'm in yours too.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Well, and I know in your book, you talk about how we can use this type of work when we're dealing with an illness or before we go for surgery.
Yes.
What does that look like?
Well, I chiefly talk about many of my clients, the people that I've been graced to work with, come to me after they've received a diagnosis. And often it is a diagnosis around some cancerous tumor in the body. And so sometimes parts of the body are removed. I have worked with folk who have had mastectomies. I have worked with folk who have had the Whipple operation, which is removing a bit of the pancreas for pancreatic cancer. And so some of the rituals that we move through is focusing on loving those parts of the body, which is counter to a lot of the messaging that we receive about working with illnesses, chronic or terminal. Or, the possibility of remission. A lot of the messaging that my folk come to me with are, this notion of forgive me for the language, cancer, which is often an energetic that is focused on the part of the body that is working with the disease. Now, that is counterintuitive to me. Like, if I am going to talk about my pancreas in such a way it is like I'm angry with my pancreas. And it's hard to distinguish or make the delineation between the cancerous tumor and the fact that it is on my pancreas. So in our rituals, what we do is we put that practice aside and turn the anger into action, into actualizing rituals and practices that love my pancreas, this is something that is passing through. So we will isolate it with my voice around I am well, chanting affirmations, sounds, directing particular songs toward or knowings, prayers, affirmations that you grew up with, prayers that that you lean into, poems even, that lift up your well-being, that lift up possibility. And we circle the organ, we circle our breasts, we circle the womb, we channel and turn this energy of sound and possibility into the organ, into the space. And we know our well-being. And we also bring visioning into this. We vision the sound of our voices moving through these places that are dealing with disease. And we place our energy there. And so to prepare for surgery, it's a lot of practice daily, sometimes, often throughout the day, of sounding into the area and preparing it. And also then, of course, like blessing the hands of the surgeon and all those in the room that will be performing the operation that we know is going to make us well, that we know is going to help us to be better and to live strong.
What an empowering way to view different practices or medical procedures that we are having to go through. I know a lot of times people will start feeling very negative when a diagnosis is given, and now we're preparing for a surgery to deal with that. So to put somebody in a mindset that is actually empowering their journey, I mean, how just impactful that is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's it's a process, right? Like first you have to have your grief. It's terrifying to receive a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. I had a beloved and walked beside a beloved in that journey. It's terrifying. You must weep, you must wail, you must move through all of your fear before you can get to a space of holding yourself in possibility. They do not oppose each other, these rituals of wailing and also knowing and affirming and preparing yourself in ways that are more about glory and more about living and affirming your life. Yes, so it is absolutely important and to have all of your feels around what is happening. And then, though, to keep firmly planting yourself in possibility. And sometimes you'll have all of those feelings in an hour, but to stay in practice with it, to keep speaking the good word about what is possible into your own body.
I think that's so important. One of the things I was so impressed with your book is, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit ago, but in regards to when we talk about grief, do people sometimes feel like if they get to this point of wailing, because Americans and Westerners are so used to bottling up grief, that maybe they won't be able to get to this place where things normalize?
Yes, I encounter that often. The sentiment is, what if I can't stop? What if I can't stop crying? And in my 25 years, almost actually 30 years of practice, I've never seen that. I have seen days of grief letting. You have to prepare and create the conditions so that you can keep moving it. I have seen that. But I've always seen folk get to a place of practice where when they feel sad, they cry. It's like remembering being a child being a small child, that, you cry. That's an organic response to grief. It's an organic response, often to disappointment or sadness. It's not like we're buying beachfront property in grief. We're not pitching a tent to stay there forever. We're just incorporating it into our lives as something that is as normal and as important as breathing, as laughter is, as nourishing the body with water or food. Grieving is an organic response to loss. And so, I would say grief is not inexhaustible. I would say stay in the practice. Know that, that after a while, a commercial, any commercial that has a baby toddling toward its grandparents is going to probably make you cry. Like, you will become much more porous. But after a while, it will just feel like more of a balanced way of being in the world, allowing. And I'm not saying that I know, from personal experience, this is not an easy practice, but it is completely fulfilling and actually vital to being, vital to wellness. It's imperative.
Well, Gina, we could talk for hours. I just loved your book. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Thank you, Marianne, and thank you so much for this time today. My website has everything there. It's ginabreedlove.com. And, I'm going to be offering a 21-day community practice taken from my book, 21 Days of Ritual, where everyone can be a part of it. It's happening the first new moon in January 11th, 2024. For 21 days, we will practice together and do the 21-day practice. And there'll be so many more offerings there. I'm going to be on the road soon, so where I'll be will be there. I'm just excited for the opportunity to share this good medicine and with wider community.
Well, Gina, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
And thank you. Be well.
Well, thank you, Gina Breedlove. It has been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, The Vibration of Grace: Sound Healing Rituals for Liberation. The Vibration of Grace is available Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. Remember, support our indie bookstores. You can also purchase this book directly from the publisher, Sounds True, at soundstrue.com. Make sure to visit Gina Breedlove's website at ginabreedlove.com. Be part of her community and learn more about this amazing book. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary. A recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.